part of the problem was the people inside realized what was going on to the ones who did come out. And many of them would not come out. I know that many of them did not want to come out because, they wanted to stay there. That was their home. That was our home. It wasn't just a building. It wasn't a church. We had meetings there and we studied the Bible continuously, but it wasn't just a church. We lived there.
I love Mike Hanson Archives.
You ready to run?
Hello, folks. It's Mike Hanson from Mike Hanson Archives. And on this February 28th, 2022, I just want to remember Catherine Madison. She's a long-time Branch Davidian, probably about 30 years. From the time they raided it, February 28th, 1993. I think she had been there about 30 years. I met Catherine Madison when she moved to Austin, Texas in 1995 and got to know her like a mother or a grandma. Really loved her to death. And over the years, I took video of her experiences there on February 28th, 1993, and also her past experiences with David Koresh and the rest of the Branch Davidians in the 30 years before the raid. And also she came out with the David Koresh tapes March 2nd of 1993.
This is Catherine Madison, and we're at the memorial, the 19th, 1997. I would like to send you the 58-minute tape that I took out. The reason that I'm here is because of that tape.
And she was promptly put under house arrest later on for a witness, and I don't think they ever called her in to testify, but they just wanted to keep her out of the public eye.
I was in jail for a while.
But you were found innocent of the...
Well, they actually filed charges against me, and the judge came up and told me what I was charged for, and it would be lifetime, 100 years, or 50 to 75 years.
Conspiracy to murder a federal agent.
Murder, conspiracy to murder, and conspiracy was what I was being charged with. But the very next day, it was just about 24 hours later, I was in the federal court and they dismissed the charges but told me I was a witness. And that was worse because I was really under confinement then in solitary. But fortunately, the judge had talked with me, and I had met a lawyer that they knew the judge, and between the two of them, I was transported down to the lawyer's home, which was very beautiful, and they were very lovely people, Christian people. And I lived there over a month, and nobody knew where I was. In fact, I didn't even know where I was.
But after she got out of all that and she moved to Austin in 1995, believe it or not, at the time I had a public access TV show and I had her on in 1995. Here's a little clip of that show that we did in 1995. Boy, she was really good. She got better as she went along, taking up for the Branch Davidians. And
hi, Mike.
Hi.
Hi, nice to see you again. Catherine, it's a pleasure and an honor to see you on the show tonight and
Thank you.
have an opportunity to talk with you. We thank God that you did survive, and
She looks like a real criminal up here, don't she?
I sure do.
yeah,
All I need is my gun.
we all are, huh? At any rate, yeah, my family and I, we all share your grief, and we wish it hadn't been that way. Not only because of your loss, but also because of the loss to our nation. So we do grieve with you. I don't really have any questions. I've seen a lot of tape about the incident, but I would like it if you could tell us a little bit more about what David thought and taught.
Well, David started in 81. He came to Mount Carmel looking for a prophet. He said there was always a prophet. And why in this time when people need more help than ever before, isn't there a prophet around? And he was talking to a lady up near Tyler, and she said, "Oh, I know where a prophet is, prophetess is." And he said, "Where?" And she said, "In Waco." He said, "Will you take me?" And that's how come he came down to Waco. Lois Roden was in charge of the group at that time, and he did come down, and he gave she and I a 5-hour study, and then he left and went back home. But he called up a little later and asked if he could come down to live, and he was told why, of course, and he did come down. He did have a going back and forth because he was a street evangelist at the time, and he lived in his car. He was a carpenter, a finisher, and so in a few days he could make quite a good deal of money, and he would do that. Then he'd go back because he wanted to talk to the young people. He felt there was a great need there, which is true, and he used to do evangelizing a long time before he ever came to us.
Hello?
Yes.
Are you there?
Yes, go right ahead for Catherine Madison.
Well, according to an Associated Press story as it appeared in the Austin American-Statesman on March 1st of 1994, on page B3, the jurors at the trial of the surviving Branch Davidians were horrified to discover from the government's own testimony that those tanks that we watched on tape and on our television sets were not just punching holes in the wall to insert gas. They were ordered to penetrate that residence that was occupied with men, women, and children. And they did penetrate a room's length or more, quote unquote, and some of the children that we were told our government was saving died in this manner. Thank heavens for alternative media, such as public access TV.
But you were talking about them ramming the building. When they went to ram the building, they rammed every staircase. And they made it so bad that when David Thibodeau tried to get upstairs to see his wife and the children, he couldn't get upstairs. And so he had to stay downstairs. Of course, at that time, he really didn't know that they had been brought downstairs to be put in an area where it was safer than being upstairs on the second floor. But you notice that when they rammed the sides of the building, you could see the building was starting to lean and sort of collapse. When they went through the very front section of the building, right where they knew which happened to be our refrigeration area, they called it the bunker. When they went in there, they rammed the top of it. And when they rammed the top of it, it was made of very heavy cement. Parts of the roof fell in and crushed the children and the women that were under it. And then they tried to say that we had taken hammers and
Bashed their head. But we were there to
children.
we were there to save the kids, though, Catherine.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
She really was a fighter, and she passed away in 2009. Well, here's a little clip from 1995, and we'll be right back with some more information on Catherine Madison, remembering her here on February 28th.
A little investigation we've done since we've been in contact with the Davidians and Jack DeVault and this and that people will not listen to both sides of the story. They will just listen to one side of the story, and that's the ATF, the FBI, and the government side. Is that what you've found?
Well, how can you make a decision? How can you make a decision on anything if you don't know the complete story?
Okay, just a second, sir.
It's absolutely impossible to do that. Right now, what I wanted to say was this about the suicide. That is absolutely a falsehood. Because if he had wanted to commit suicide, he could have done it a long time ago, after he was shot. When I saw him, he looked like he was going to die. And I believe the reason he made the tape that I brought out was because he thought he might die at that time. He looked like he didn't have a drop of blood in his veins when I looked at him. And this is one reason I took the tape out. And I thought sure that we were going to court, that he would come out and they'd have him in court and we'd all be, brought before a judge or something. But
okay, sir.
What
do you think about how many people still in prison? We still got political prisoners.
At least 11.
11 Davidians that are still in prison at this time.
Well, yeah, about 11. Because one is coming out very soon.
We need to press for their release, don't you think?
I hope we can make it. Because they have so much... they have made the amount that they owe so high that even if
$1.2 million.
Right, even if they come, they can't. They have to do the 40 years, from what I understand. And even if they do the 40 years, and they don't pay the money that the government says they owe, they're going to be charged so many years in jail for so much money.
And by the way,
they'd be there forever.
By the way, they were found innocent in the conspiracy to murder a federal agent.
Oh yes, there was no conspiracy, and there was no murder that they talked about. If you have the opportunity to look at some of the tapes that I've seen, you would realize that there was no murder. That some of them, they talk about friendly fire on some of the tapes. What's friendly fire?
They shot each other?
Oh.
Are you there, sir?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Yes, we can hear you. Go right ahead.
I was just going to make a statement. I truly believe that David Koresh was a Christian and that he believed in the biblical concept of the Bible. I think he truly preached whatever the Bible teaches. But this is just an example of what's going to happen to us Christians. We are going to be looked at as a sect of demonic beings or whatever because we believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. And I think that that's why the Lord says be prepared to suffer, because I think we're going to suffer a lot of this same thing that David Koresh and the people that live there at the camp because we profess to be Christians and believe in Jesus Christ. So it's just something that they're going to show the people that if you do profess to be a Christian and you believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, that this is just an example of what's going to happen to those people that profess to be Christians. And that's just a comment that I wanted to make.
All righty, thank you,
sir.
Well,
there is a one world order coming into being, and when they have the one world order fully, there is going to be a religion that everyone will be expected to go along with, and I'm sure it will not be biblical.
Hello?
Because they hate they go after the people that are studying the Bible.
Am I on?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay.
We got Catherine Madison. She's a Mount Carmel survivor.
Okay, I was wondering why didn't everyone just walk out as soon as the federal agents arrived the first day that there was any type of government agent or local agent or
whatever. Why didn't people just walk out of the compound and just, stand outside? If there was going to be some type of government murder on a bunch of people, then it would have been obvious when everybody was laying there dead.
I think it was very obvious to see what happened.
Well, I just don't understand if everybody just decided,
let me ask
we're going to be fighting against an army here. Why don't we just
let me ask you a question?
And surrender and see what they really want.
She wants to ask you a question, sir.
I'll ask you a question.
Okay.
You're in your home with your family, and all of a sudden somebody comes to your house and surrounds it and starts to fire at you. Are you going to come out? I don't think so.
Well, there was a lot of media there. There was times when I'm sure that there was. Oh, well, I guess if I was in a place with 100 people or so, and a bunch of police drove up and told us to walk out and were shooting.
They didn't tell us.
They told us to walk
out.
They didn't tell him. They started shooting.
They did not tell us to walk out.
She saw the helicopter.
There was no knocking at the door.
Could you have thrown white
there
flags
was
out
no
the windows?
Search warrant.
So that way any media covering the issue would have seen all these white flags and messages saying we surrender, whatever. There was no attempt to just kind of say, hey, we really want to leave.
Have you done any investigation at all on this, sir? Tell me the truth.
Okay, here's my second point. Okay, if that's the case where you couldn't leave and everything was like that, and there's all this evidence that you have that things were as bad as they were, then is there not an attorney who would take your case and you could sue the government?
We're doing that,
sir.
That have happened.
They're doing
the evidence that
we're trying to, sir. We're trying to do that. Have you ever seen Constantine Wire? I didn't see it until just a very short time ago. They had that right up to the windows. They couldn't have gone out the windows. They couldn't have gone out the door. You couldn't get out of there. Now, they said they put it around to keep people, they didn't say whether going in or coming out, but you couldn't get in or out of that place.
Well, I'm not going to say that...
Ramsey Clark and the $1 billion lawsuit, sir. They are suing. Ramsey Clark and the $1 billion lawsuit. That's what they got going on right now.
That's right.
Okay, well, I believe that if you're successful with that lawsuit, that everybody's eyes will be open to what really happened, and they would be able to hear both sides.
Let me just say this before we go off.
I wish you luck with that suit.
Sir, let me just say this before we go off, that I felt the same way you did a year ago, and since I've been looking into this, I found out a lot of things that does not match up with what the government's saying. But anyway, go right ahead, and we're going to try to get one more call in before I have to make the announcement. Hurry.
Catherine, thanks for being on tonight. All of us here in Austin appreciate it. I think the ATF ought to crack down on all the fraternity houses where all the real drugs and fornication's going on.
Okay.
Okay, folks, I hope you enjoyed that clip from 1995. She also was pretty outspoken on what happened on February 28th with the helicopters. Here's a little clip of what her thoughts were on the helicopters.
I saw the shooting, and that was the first thing. The first shots that were made was from the 3 helicopters, and they were aiming at David's room, and that was the only room they could be aiming at, and they did really make it so full of holes that when Jack Zimmerman saw it, he said it looked like Swiss cheese. And, but what I saw was behind the building, and the 3 helicopters that came in V formation shooting at David's room. This came they were in the back of the building. They were shooting from the north side of the building through the back to the south side where his room was. And this was the first shooting that anyone heard. When they turned around to go out, there was a few seconds of complete silence. There was no shooting at all. Then when they got to the front of the building, there was more shooting. And I believe this is when J.D. was shot. She was the one that had been feeding her baby, and her daughter had brought the baby out into the hallway, and she was shot by the helicopters. Winston, who was in the downstairs in one of the back rooms, had been shot also. And it was because the water tanks that we had there for storage had been, they had put holes in them trying to eliminate our water supply. And one of the bullets had gone through the water in the tank and into his room. And he was shot at that particular time, and they finally found him face down in the water in his room.
Well, the whole incident, and I'm very sorry for your losses. The whole incident is in violation of the Posse Comitatus Act. They are not to use military force against sovereign citizens of the United States of America. And when that starts happening, we've gone from a democracy to a socialist state. That's what happens in China, in Red China, is they roll the tanks out when people speak out against the government or they do something a little bit different. David Koresh was probably guilty of being a bigamist. But do we go out there and kill the women and children that would have been his victims if you were going to find him guilty of being a bigamist? I mean, this is a good point. You know, if someone's raped, we don't murder them.
Well, they were always talking about helping the children, protecting the children, but, you know, their actions were actually contrary to what they said. When they started in the front of the building and they were shooting every room upstairs on the second floor where I was. My room was in the back of the building, but as I walked down the corridor to come out, every single window on the front side of the building had been destroyed, and all the glass was inside. All the doors were full of holes. When I went downstairs, I was amazed. The walls, everything had holes in it, and you know, that just doesn't happen. All the bullets were coming into the building,
right? Not
going out, because especially at the doors were metal. They tried to say that the door had been consumed by the fire.
Right.
Then they said no, the door was missing, but that door was full of holes.
Yeah.
And that was the door that Perry Jones was standing behind, and he had at least 4 bullets in his midsection.
Well, there's no doubt that they were trying to kill David Koresh from the beginning of the thing. They were shooting at him when he went to the door and told him to stop.
Well, I'm positive it started with them trying to eliminate David. I'm sure they felt that if they got rid of David, the rest of us would collapse. But you see, the message that David had been given us would do anything but make us collapse, because we knew what was going on. Not that we knew that they were coming in, not that we knew they were going to attack us in that way, but we knew that there was a chance that they might come in to take the children. And this is really what we were concerned about. That is why the children were kept under surveillance by the parents and the other people in the building. Even when they went into our the sandbox we had made for them, there was always adults with them, because we certainly didn't want to lose one child.
Okay, back here with Mike Hanson. We're reflecting on February 28th, 1993, and Miss Catherine Madison. At least she can still talk from the grave from these tapes and get her story out. Here's a little clip from the extra show that we got her on, and boy did she come out strong on that. First, there's a little clip of Alex Jones. She really loved Alex Jones because Alex Jones really took up for the Branch Davidians like nobody else did in America at the time. So here's a little clip from the extra TV show that we got Catherine Madison and Sheila Martin and Clive Doyle on. And of course, Alex Jones was on that show too. Take a look at this and we'll be right back.
There's always new federal lies that we are forced to counter here.
Texas talk radio personality Alex Jones has been crying murder and cover-up from day one. of the Waco horror.
These are thugs who wanted to engage in terrorism against the American people. And I say their terrorism has failed, and this horrendous lie is starting to unravel.
The surviving Davidians say the same thing.
That's what they do for a job, is they lie.
When I tell what I tell, I'm telling the truth. And if people accept it, fine.
We just believe that God would not let the truth be hidden.
I call it murder. That's what I call it.
Catherine Madison also escaped the Davidian complex before the fiery finale of death and destruction. She, like the others, claimed the government deliberately set the blaze.
What was the reason for the fire?
When they saw we weren't going to give in, they had to get rid of us. They had to get rid of us. They had to cover up everything that had happened.
Well, you can probably imagine that February 28th, 1993 was kind of like here in 2022. It was probably a little cold and a little rainy. And what Catherine said, they were all inside because of the weather, even the men. So here's what she said happened when the cattle cars drove up.
The helicopters came in from that direction, and they were coming, and as they came in, David's room was here, like this is the building, his room's extended out on the south side, and that's what they were pointing at. They were pointing at his room, and they came in shooting in a V formation, and I'll tell you, they just kept it up. The house to the left, there's two houses there, the one to the left is where the sharpshooters were. And after things had gotten to the place where I was released from jail, and they had this all encircled with a 6-foot fence, so you couldn't come down this way. I walked around. I had to use the bathroom, and I knew those houses were available, so I asked if I could go in, and they said yes. So I went in and I walked all over that house, and I could see there. You can see 1, 2, 3 windows to the left of the door, and that's where they were sitting and shooting. That building had about 8 men that would come and go. Sometimes there'd be quite a few there. Sometimes they would be gone. And at the time, I was living here, and Wayne was he was with us. And I would go to Wayne and I would ask if, I said, what about the people that are over there? I said, man, they're always there. There's always somebody there. And he said, I'll find out who they are. And so he inquired. And when he found out, they told him that they were going to school over at GSTC. Well, their vehicles were exceptionally nice. And most of them looked pretty new, trucks and the vehicles they had. And so when he told me that, we kind of laughed because we knew that if they had been going over to TSTC, they wouldn't have that type vehicle, because that is not a school that has people with money. They would be going to another college, another place for their instruction. But anyway, they used to take our pictures, and that's where they did a lot of shooting. Can you see that?
Uh-huh.
See that there? That is razor wire. That is so sharp, you can hardly touch it. It will cut you. They had some that was bigger. It was about twice the width of this. And that's what I was looking for, but I don't see it here. But they put the razor wire in front of the windows. They said they wanted the people to come out, but they put the razor wire in front of the windows, and there was no way the people could come out of those windows, which they could have crawled out of at any time, with that wire there. That would have ripped them to pieces. You have no concept of how sharp that is. I wish I could find the other because it's about twice, 2 or 3 times this length, and it looks what it looks like. It looks like well, if you sharpen a pencil, if you have one of these little sharpeners, you know, that you put your pencil in and turn, and you can see the part that cuts your pencil. That's what it looked like. And it's not pretty.
I'll edit you real good.
I do want to thank all people who came here and worked so hard to put this building up. It means a great deal to us. It's certainly making the people that are against us sit up and take notice that there are people who are not afraid to stand up for what they know is the truth. We realize that it's been very hard for some people to come.
By 1999, the truth was coming out about what happened at Waco in the attack and the fire, and we were really, really good friends with Catherine Madison and most of the Branch Davidians. So we all decided, let's build Mount Carmel back. And that's exactly what we did. And that's one of the proudest moments of my life, is to know that we told the government, you burn it, we build it.
I know you came out and said that they did it all wrong. That's how it was planned, with the helicopters to shoot first, to create the crisis, all you guys would open fire while you're down the road crying. Now that's how this works. And we're building prisons everywhere across this country. We're going into a Nazi Germany type state, and you bet I'll get fired up and angry. It's time to stop whitewashing all this and waffling back and forth. You got to go all the way and expose what's been happening.
By 1998, Alex Jones was very clear on what happened in 1993. So we decided not to just sit around and talk about it. We decided to go ahead and rebuild the church for the surviving Branch Davidians, where they could have their memorial services and their church service. So September 19th, 1999, we broke ground. Alex was able to, with his radio show and other contacts, was able to raise $250,000 of hard-earned labor and materials. And we have a brand new church at Mount Carmel. It was dedicated to the Branch Davidians on April 19th, 2000. And as I speak, it's still standing, and hopefully it's going to stand for a long time. Alrighty, we also have a short message here from one of the Branch Davidians, Catherine Madison, which I dearly loved. She wanted to thank everybody. This was taken before her death. I think she died in 2009, but this was taken before she died, thanking the volunteers for coming up and rebuilding their church. So there's a short message.
I'm Catherine Madison, and I especially want to thank everyone who contributed to the building out on Mount Carmel. I haven't gotten to send everyone a thank you note. The rate I'm going, I may never. But I do thank you, and I am very appreciative of what you've all done. I know that it never would have even started with all you people that came in and took over and made it work.
February 28th, 1993. I'll never forget Catherine Madison. She was a great lady, and I miss her dearly to this day. Over 25 years later, sure miss her. Alrighty. Just wanted to reflect on Catherine Madison and do not ever want to forget her. She was a part of history that we need not forget there in Waco, Texas at Mount Carmel in 1993.
This is Catherine Madison. I'm at the memorial, and the date is April 19th, 1997. We are here to remember the people who died that were our family and the fire that destroyed them. I have a tape, 58-minute tape that I brought out the 2nd of March, and that is the reason why I'm standing here, because otherwise I would have been in that fire. It makes me happy to say hello to everyone in Austin. I know you've seen me on ACTV. I'll see you all again sometime very soon. Look at the water in there. See those trees in the middle? That's where the lake used to stop. I thought those trees would be all dead. They're dying, but they're still standing. Still standing.
Watching Mike Hanson Archives right here on band.video on infowars.com, and I hope you enjoyed the Catherine Madison remembrance. And on this day, February 28th, 2022, I want to remember all the people that died and were violated 29 years ago today, February 28th, 1993. And then, as you know, 51 days later, the fire happened and killed most of the rest of the Davidians. So I want to remember Catherine Madison because she had her place in history on February 28th, and then again on March 2nd, coming up in a few days. She took the tape out for David Koresh. Okay, now I just want to say that the Branch Davidians are some of the best, nicest, forgiving people, God-fearing people I've ever met in my life. And I continually take up and hear the same questions asked for the last 29 years. The last part of this tape, I asked Catherine Madison some of the hard questions that I hear all the time from the public. And I hope you enjoyed this last segment, but it's me asking questions that I hear all the time, that I've heard for the last 25 years, and it's the same questions over and over again. So here's the last segment. Okay, this is Mike Hanson saying we'll see you next time on Back to the Future. A lot of things we do is archives here at Mike Hanson Archives, and we hope you enjoy it. make sure you go to Infowars.com and look us up. Or we're on YouTube. If YouTube don't take our product down in our videos, we're still on YouTube on Waco Archives on YouTube, or Mike Hanson Archives on YouTube. All right, thanks a lot, and God bless. Here is Miss Catherine Madison. She's still talking. I really miss her. She died in 2009, but she's still fighting from the grave. Thanks a lot, and God bless.
They wanted us all to be done away with, but there was no way they could do it. They tried, but it just did not succeed. When the trial was on and just before it was finished, the lawyers told us there was papers going to be flying around. In other words, we were going to be back in jail. But they never did that either, because there were too many people that were against them and for us. It takes the people to help put things straight. When a people does not stand up for the right, the enemies take over. And that's what had happened at Mount Carmel. But they are more cautious now. They do not want anyone group to get upset. The one thing that the New World Order, the reason why it's taken so long for them to get to where they are, is because they've been very stealthful. They have slowly and surely penetrated different areas, done different things to control, but they never have come out in full force. They're beginning to do that now because they feel that the people are not going to fight. Well, I don't think it's time for guns. That time is coming, but it isn't now. But to stand up and be heard, to stand up and tell the truth, to stand up to educate other people what has happened, that's what we should be doing now. That's what I try to do. When I get a call from all over the country, when they're telling me that I owe a certain amount of money, I always end up telling them about Mount Carmel. And they're amazed. They don't even know it happened. Well, it's our job, the people that know the truth, to get it out. And of course, you know, people say, well, you haven't got the title. We don't need a title. We are entitled to that land. That land belongs to us, and they know it. I know when I see certain sheriffs, they know I belong there. They know that I've lived on that land for over 30 years. They're not going to try to fight me.
Another question for you, Catherine. There's a lot of things going around, not on any of our shows, and my voice won't be on here, so just you have to kind of answer the question where the people know what you're talking about. But there's other shows on the same ACTV that we're on that are now saying that y'all committed suicide and that you tortured the kids and all this. Can you respond to that and please clear that up for us, because we want to make sure that's cleared up.
Okay.
Dan Force come out and has kind of said that.
Well, many people have picked up what Mark Bro started. And Mark Bro started that in Australia. He got a group of people together there that had been part of our group. And he started to tell a story about how we were torturing the children and how we were abusing them and how we were sacrificing them. And all. Many of the people stood up and said, that isn't true, because they knew us, they had been here. That is not true. But out of the group that started, there was 8 people left. And those 8 people, with Mark Bro, wrote letters to our ambassador in Australia and told all these stories that were untrue. And those were sent to the United States, Britain, all the places where there were people from that country. And I often wondered why Britain did not stand up for their people. A third of our people were from Great Britain, but they did not stand up for them. A third of our people were black, and no blacks stood up for them, which is very unusual. You know that. And the problem was they had sent all these terrible stories around to these different groups so they would not stand up for us. But then, of course, when they start to find out the truth, then they change. But there were no children sacrificed because or abused. Joyce came in. She was the lady that came in to check them out for the government, and I talked with her, and she said, you know, she said, your children are very smart. She said they answered every question. They are very polite. And she said, I have checked every one of them. There is no abuse. She said, I could not find any kind of abuse. Now, I was glad that I had the opportunity to talk to her because she was the one that went back and gave the report. And she gave the right report. But what happened, they would not let that report out. But it did come out at 10:30 one morning when they were talking. They had it set up for the media, but nobody ever picked it up.
So how would you respond to these reports that are now circulating again? And believe me, they're circulating again that David Koresh was raping young girls and all this. Please tell them that you knew him, and clear that up for them, Catherine.
Now, I knew David when he was Vernon. Vernon came in 81. He was a young man, and in fact, he stayed at Mount Carmel, and he would come into the big house, and he would take a shower because the house he had, the shower wasn't working. And I used to get after him because, like all young men, he'd take his shoes off and throw them in the kitchen or wherever they happened to land, in their socks, and and I used to get after him and say, put them in the laundry so I won't fall down and break my neck. David never did one thing that God did not tell him to do. David never did anything of himself. Now, I know that for an absolute fact. I lived there, and I was in the same house with him for years. I talked with him extensively before he became David and after he became David. There was none of this things that they talked about. That is ridiculous. God says rape is murder. He would not let anyone that is connected with him do anything like that. So you can forget all the rotten stories you've heard. Everything you have heard before was brought out by Mark Breaux, who was trying to usurp David out of the position he had and take it over, but he didn't have the ability. He tried it one time. David was gone, and he tried to take over. He tried to sound like David. He tried to have the same format as David, and he fell flat on his face. I mean, I just got disgusted with him because he was not David. He did not understand what David understood. He was just out to be the leader, the one in charge. Well, it turned out to be a nothing. He's in Australia now. He did marry that girl that he wanted to marry, and I hope they're happy.
How many people were in Mount Carmel when they attacked it?
I had it figured out there was more than 80. There was more than that. There was one time when we had 150 there. So I can't say for sure. I know it could be in the 90s.
And you lived at Mount Carmel over 30 years?
Yes, I did. I lived there when Ben Roden was the leader. I worked with Lois Roden for 15, 20 years, where we worked together and traveled together all over the United States, and went to Israel and to, trying to think of the name of on the other side.
I'll cut this out, Catherine, don't worry about it.
I'm trying to think of the name of it. The island over there. I can't even think of it. Anyway.
Well, let me ask you some more questions, because I'll edit it real good for you.
Okay.
And put it on I'll send you a copy of the tape.
Okay.
They're starting to come out with the same old story that David Koresh gave the order to light the fires, and they even got a tape of this supposedly. Can you counter this somehow? But ask the question. I mean, answer the question with my question.
You know, it's laughable what they try to do. I remember one morning David came downstairs. When he'd come down lots of times in the morning, it was and tell us something. It was because God had given him something to tell us. And he told us, he said, God told me I was not to commit suicide for any reason. We are not to commit suicide for any reason. And I know that anyone is stupid who's going to burn themselves when they could take a gun or something else and put them out of their misery. If they really wanted to commit suicide, that is not the way to do it. That's not the smart way to commit suicide. To burn yourself, that is very, very hard to live with. No, he never said light a fire.
How would you respond to the people that constantly say, well, they had guns there?
Sure, we had guns. We had guns because we were in the gun business. We had to find a way to keep ourselves above water so we wouldn't sink. We had to have a way to make money so we did not have to sit at a 8-to-5 job. And the solution was brought to us by Henry, who came in and said, why don't you go to the gun shows? And he let us use his
license, gun license?
He let us use his license, and he said, I'll show the boys how to do it. There is a gun show every weekend. Texas has always been gun happy. The lawyer I had told me that he had more guns than we had. He said, are they going to come after me? I said, you never can tell. You better be careful. And there's people here that have. That's what they were brought up on. The children that were brought up in Texas, even in David's time, it wasn't crowded the way it is now. Everything is overcrowded. You go into a city and it's so crowded you can't get around. It wasn't like that when I first came here. And it wasn't like that when Vernon was born. He lived out near Tyler. He was out in the country. They went hunting rabbits and things. Sure, they learned how to use guns. But I'm going to tell you something. The West was settled with guns. And this country was built on guns. What do you think happened when they, men who are our heroes now, they weren't heroes in their day. They were traitors. They went after the English, who was the government. And you know why they won? Because the English would stand in the line and pull the triggers. These men, I read an article, and it said when England found out how many men were shot during a very small period of time, they were astounded. We won the war by being, oh, what do you call it? Not terrorists. Where they
ambush.
Yeah, but
they ambush them.
What's the name for it? It's
Patriots.
No. They use it now everywhere. When they want to take a place over. Anyway, they weren't formal army. Everybody took their gun and went out and shot somebody else. That wasn't, they wanted to put Washington and all the men that signed the Declaration of Independence, do you know they wanted to put them all in jail? Do you know a lot of them went into bankruptcy because the people that were in charge got after them, tried to make them stop. How do you think they're going to treat people these days? They're going to do the same thing. They're going to, economically, they're going to hit them in many other ways.
Well, I'm trying to touch on all these things that people are talking about lately. Okay, here's another one that people keep saying, and I hear it over and over and over, that y'all were some kind of a cult. Can you respond to that?
Well, do you think the Christians are a cult? Of course they are. They believe in Jesus. One man in charge of a group of millions of people? That's a cult. Now, how do you fight that? You can't. We were not a cult. We were a family. We were small enough to be a family, and we were.
And you all got along, black, white.
That's right. Yellow, red. We had every nationality. We had every color in there. And like David said, one morning he came in, he said, I hate blacks. I hate yellows. I hate reds. He said, I hate whites. He said, you are not that at all. You are light. And that's what we are. We carry the light within us because the light was given to us by David giving us understanding of God. So we're not black, we're not white, we're not yellow, we're light. And when you talk to us, you don't know who we are. But we know who we are. And so nothing that you do to the flesh can hurt us. Oh, it hurts the flesh, but it doesn't hurt us. Because what we have stored in our brain will take us through eternity. And I wish every one of you had that. But you've got to want it. And you've got to be willing to work toward it. That's all.
Okay, another question to explain. Okay, they said, and it's still going on now because I just heard it the other day, that David Koresh said he was Jesus. Now, what's your opinion of that? Is that true or false?
Well, anybody who has studied the scriptures, he never said he was Jesus. I will tell you that right now. He never claimed he was Jesus. But anybody who has studied the Bible at all know that Christ was considered the Lamb. Any true Bible student will say that Christ is the Lamb. Now when you get to Revelation, in Revelation 5, it says, who is able to open the seals? And the answer is nobody in heaven, nobody in earth, and nobody under earth. Nobody who has ever lived, or is living in heaven can do it. Nobody. But the book is in the Father's hand. And the book is going to be given to someone who can open it. And the Lamb is the one that is given the book. And people say, oh yeah, that's Jesus up in heaven. That isn't Jesus. But the Lamb is Christ. And the only one I know that can open the seals is David. I've never heard anyone that could take the whole Bible and put it together so it made sense. And everything fits together. It isn't something hanging out here that you say, what happened to that? Well, that doesn't matter. No, the whole thing goes together. Every prophecy that goes with the seals is explained. The whole Bible is explained.
Okay.
And so I personally believe that David is God. Was God, is God, will always be God. Now, if you can't handle that, I feel sorry for you. But that's your problem, it isn't mine.
Okay, is that the consensus of all the surviving Branch Davidians? Or just your opinion?
I can only speak for myself. You'll have to ask them. You know, Ed has already talked about it. Others have already talked about it. But it doesn't matter who believes it, who doesn't. 100 people can believe something, it can be wrong. That doesn't mean anything. I know it. I don't just believe it. I know it.
Anything else for the people, Catherine? Anything to close it out? Because I need to close it out.
Well, I've already closed it. You can take that.
All right. Anything else that I can add in there? Any other lies that you've heard that you want to? Because I want to make this
I have heard so many, and I'll tell you what. I don't remember them because I just put them out of my mind because I know where they come from. They come from Satan, and I'm not interested in Satan.
But as far as you're concerned, the Branch Davidians that were living at Mount Carmel in 1993 were good, decent people.
Let me tell you this. There isn't a person that's walked the earth that isn't wicked. And we were the most wicked people that God chose. Sister White says he scraped the bottom of the barrel when he chose his people. So that doesn't make us very high. Doesn't make us very good. But there will come a day when we will be pure and righteous and good and have the complete mind of God, and there'll be no sin in us because we will have been clean and God will do it. And that's what I'm looking forward to. The only person that's ever walked the earth that wasn't sinful was Christ. And the record is there for you to read. Oh, yes, let me say one more thing. David called himself the sinful Messiah because God... Let me go back. When Christ walked the earth, they couldn't stand him because he was perfect, because he was sinless, and he could not get to the people. Even his own men, he couldn't get to them. People hate somebody who is perfect, or even appear perfect. They can't stand him. But when David came to the earth this time, he was not sinful. He was not pure and without sin. He was a sinful Messiah. What he did
he committed sins that God told him to commit. But he was the Messiah nevertheless. I'm getting tired.
Well, that's good. God bless, and we'll see you next time here on Mike Hanson Archives.
Just in case you don't remember, let me jog your memory. In a church they called the Waco Compound back in April '93, 17 little children, all so helpless and so small, died a senseless death of gas and flames. How many names can you recall? 17 little children. Don't it make you wonder why? 17 little children. How could they deserve to die? Maybe we should stop and ask ourselves, have we become so blind? Will 17 little children finally open up your mind? How did you sleep last night, Bill Clinton? Tell me, did you feel their pain? As 17 little children cried out and perished in the flames. Attorney General Janet Reno, I accept your offer to resign. How can you stand for law and order now when you won't answer to your crimes? 17 little children, all so helpless and so small. 17 little children. How many names can you recall? Maybe we should stop and ask ourselves, have we become so blind? Will 17 little children finally open up your mind? I've heard it said the Branch Davidians only got what they deserved, yet no one seems to know what laws were broken, what was in the warrant they never served. Yesterday I sold my TV set, stopped my subscription to the Times. To me it's plain to see the media was an accomplice to these crimes. 17 little children. Don't it make you wonder why? 17
Oh, Larry, here, hold on. Oh,
Mike Hanson Original.
Oh, I love that. Come and take me. No, come and make me.
That's right.
And guess what? You can get those by calling 830-672-3089. But how does somebody get that good a body, though? That's what I want to know.
You got to work at Sonic for 4 years.
Bye. Say bye to everybody on Facebook.
All right.
Bye. Hello, folks. It's Mike Hanson here with Mike Hanson Archives. Please take a moment to watch this short video about my nonprofit, Gonzales Association of Patriots. Please take time to visit the GoFundMe and help your neighbor out. Anything will help us, even if it's $5, $20. If you can do more, great. But if you knew how desperate some of these people were, people that are a lot less fortunate than we are, they really need help here in Gonzales, Texas, and we're really trying to do that for them. So take a few minutes here to watch this video about our nonprofit, and please visit our GoFundMe and donate what you can. We really appreciate it, and thanks a lot, and God bless. Because I know you need help with your food and everything else. So that's from the Gonzales Association of Patriots. We always try to do something good for somebody every single month. We try.
I love you, Mike. I love everybody. Thank you. Thank
there you go.
Everybody.
Buy what you want with it. Buy you something nice once in a while.
I love you, Mike.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Well, hello, folks. It's Mike Hanson here. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about our nonprofit organization here in Gonzales, Texas. It's Gonzales Association of Patriots. We started it back in 2016 to help the less fortunate people here in Gonzales, Texas, and there's a lot of them. People are getting their electricity cut off. They can't make the gas to even get to their jobs. So we help them along the way as much as we can. We're not that big, so we would like to get bigger and get a lot more money to help people with. And so we have started a GoFundMe there. Just look below. Just look below here, and you'll see the GoFundMe. And here's a couple people that we have helped lately, and hopefully it will move you to give a little bit to our organization, Gonzales Association of Patriots. Hello, folks. It's Mike Hanson here with Gonzales Association of Patriots. What we do here on this organization is we help people that are less fortunate here in Gonzales. And what was your name, ma'am?
Lauren.
Lauren, you have fallen on some hard times, and I hate to hear that. Tell us what the city. They cut your electricity off, then they want to charge you more deposits. We put you up in the motel for a couple days or a week while it's been really, really cold, and we're gonna give you gas money to try to get some more help. But folks, we have a GoFundMe. If you look right here on the screen and look below this video, go to the GoFundMe if you'd like to help Lauren. How much do you owe on your electricity bill? I mean, it's getting up there.
It's like $350, but this is the third time in a month and a half that I've had to pay a deposit. So I paid 3 deposits in a month and a half and almost $1,800 in lights.
And you're living without electricity right now.
Yes.
And we would like to help you. We're down to a couple $100 ourselves in our fund. And if anybody out there, if just 10 of y'all would donate $100, boy, that would be $1,000 we could help you. Lauren, you're from Gonzales. We help people from Gonzales. We have helped you just about as much as our fund's running out. So if folks, we help people here in Gonzales. If you would just give us the GoFundMe right there. And you can help beautiful people like this out there. You're working hard trying to get,
Sir.
you've fallen on some hard times.
Yes, sir. And then with this heart failure, is harder to work, physically work. So it's a lot harder.
Well, we're going to try to get you by right now and give you a little gas money. We're secretary. There's Miss Cammie. Give her check from the Gonzales Association of Patriots. Let me show them. It's a legitimate association, and we've had it for about 4 years now, and we help people out.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, God bless you.
Thank you.
Everybody help this lady out. Put it in GoFundMe, and we'll get with you to help you with your electricity bill. All right. God bless y'all out there. Thank you. People donate money to us, and that's how we get this money.
Thank you.
So if anybody, wants to know more about our organization, we're here in Gonzales, Texas at P.O. Box 481.
Thank y'all very much, and God bless everybody that helps people around that are in need. God bless y'all.
Remember, folks, this is not like other things like the Salvation Army and the Red Cross. 100% of what we take in goes back into helping the people. We don't take salaries. We just find the needy people and try to get them to a better place. We give them a hand up is what we do. All righty. Thanks a lot and God bless. It's Mike Hanson here. Please help us where you can.